start. Tell us all about the data you got here.
Well, in this whole folder, it's my lifeline, is everything to do with the Rendlesham case. And what I'm holding in my hand is the exact envelope to which the tape, the Halt tape, came in. Needless to say, when I received it, I got the envelope, and it was clear that had been opened because the tape wasn't in it.
That's as it was when you got
that
it.
It literally came through the door like that with no tape. So on as it came on the Saturday, on the Monday, I went to the post office, and they said, "Oh, it's here. It fell out." You know.
Oh,
you know, how can it fall out? It was well stuck down, as you can see.
And it obviously got the whole way from the United States.
So it'd been opened somewhere along the line.
At the local post office.
That was pretty obvious, yeah.
And if you hadn't gone back to get that, you wouldn't have it, would you?
No. Luckily they had it. But as you can see, it says up there, Sam Morgan, his address and everywhere. And
Sam Morgan.
He was on the base at the time of the incident. But he said that he found Halt tape, which is a mini cassette, in a drawer. And when Sam went back to the States, he took it with him. And he'd had it all the time. And I was the first one that requested if I could have a copy. And his aunt said, "Sure, Doc, providing I can have a copy of your book." And I said, "Deal done."
Now, when are we talking?
Within a week, he'd sent it.
What date is this?
I'm thinking it'd be 1983, just after, because the book was in the process of coming out.
Yeah.
And that came out 83.
On this, that we can see.
Well, you see where it's been opened.
Yeah.
There's Sam. I can't quite see what the date is on there, obviously. I'm
here.
here.
It's upside down. Maybe if we do that, it's USA. Upside down. It looks like November on that somewhere.
Where's that?
November 1984. I think it's November.
Oh, right, on that.
November,
yeah.
26th, 1984.
Yeah. That probably is about right.
Yeah.
I mean, how it came. But you know, it was difficult to get hold of Sam at first. I mean, I first phoned up American operator. She said, "Oh, which do you want? The Zitlow Mountain." I thought, what on earth's that? I said, "Just want to speak to Colonel Sam Morgan." I said, "I don't know where he's at, but it's just the number I've been given." Eventually, because he'd only just moved on the base, I got through to him and he had a good chat with me, which I have got a tape of Sam Morgan. He wasn't impressed with Col Halt. He said he literally said to me, "There's something going on."
Do you have a copy of that tape? Can
you
make a copy of that?
Yeah. You can see I've got Sam Morgan, Master. The other side, Halt. As a gimmick, I put Railway Halt, so people wouldn't realise it's from him.
Yeah.
But it is the main tape that was sent to me,
and
I was the first to get a copy.
From
it was in there. Cassette. That was in there like that.
So that tape there, that green cassette tape, is the original Halt tape as well.
Yeah. It's not the original. That's come off the original, because the original was on a mini cassette.
Yes.
And obviously Sam wasn't about to let go of that.
No, obviously.
But he copied it onto there for me.
Now, was that copied acoustically? I understand.
I'm not sure how he did it. I never asked. He just said he'd send me a copy. But that is the first generation of that tape.
Right.
There's been quite a few since then. But, you know, I will state, and I'm sure Sam Morgan, bless him, if he's still with us, can confirm.
Now, who was Sam Morgan? What status are we talking?
He was colonel on the base at the time of the incident.
So was he at the same rank as Colonel Halt?
No, because Colonel Halt was Lieutenant Colonel Halt, which is under.
Okay.
Was under Sam. But contrary to what people have said, that Colonel Halt was the boss. No, like if Sam was on holiday, then exactly what happened Christmas was he'd take over. I don't think he actually took over from Sam, probably someone else, because there's quite a few high-ranking officers that were on there.
Can you mention who they
Uh,
were?
Bruce England, Colonel Bruce England, and he was involved
And
because
who's
a
he?
butcher friend of mine told me.
If you mention the names and sort of
It's
mention
actually
roughly
pronounced
what responsibility.
England, L-U.
All right.
And he was involved. There's quite a few of us. Ted Conrad, they were all about at the time. But what a lot of people got to understand is the Christmas period, what they call holiday, and a lot of the guys had gone back to the States to be with their families and whatnot. So it was partly skeleton people that were on base. Obviously, got to be a certain amount because of security, and mainly security were there, which obviously rings right that Larry and all that the security would be involved in this.
Now, which base are we talking about here?
The main base was Bentwaters, the twin bases, Bentwaters
Yeah.
and Woodbridge. Bentwaters being the main base with all the offices and where all the colonels are. Woodbridge it was more of it was for the A10s where the maintenance of A10s was done, and it was a lot smaller base than Bentwaters. Bentwaters also carried where the guys lived.
Yeah.
And all their entertainment and everything like that was all on that. So Woodbridge wasn't so significant as Bentwaters, but where Woodbridge is significant is because where the guys went out on that night, and I often have a problem with why they went out, because I know there was a civilian witness who contacted the Forestry Commission, and he was a bit under the weather because it was Boxing Night, and the people concerned were told to contact the base, which it's a known fact that the base and Forestry Commission are constantly in contact on radio. Because I've seen forestry van go past, and I've heard them talking to the base at Woodbridge, Bentwaters. But maybe basically they were told, and the chap that was witness, he did exactly that. So I'm presuming that's why John Burroughs and them went out, because they were told to go out. And obviously when they got to the escape, then they saw something unusual, which was quite a way off.
Are you able to say what the civilian witness reported?
Yeah, it's the granddaughter that saw something first. Obviously I can't mention names because I have to keep that. But his granddaughter saw something
it's entirely
first.
up to you.
Yeah, I can tell you this bit. His granddaughter, who was just off from the field, had seen something. So Grandad wouldn't listen at first, then went back.
Where was this?
Just opposite the field. I can only tell you that. And he went back, and then he saw something, because she was saying something about seeing angels and things like that.
When you say field, are you talking about the airfield or the
No,
Capel
the
Grange
field,
airfield?
the farm field.
And that's Capel Grange.
You got you got the forest, because a lot of the guys went into this field. Well, this is where this young lass saw this, and she was going on about little people, angels, looking like little people and angels, and then 'cause eventually a granddad saw it as well and panicked and went to phone up, and they said that they see it. I mean, there's a few days after that he was silenced, told to be quiet and not to mention it. But it's his granddaughter since has told her as what she saw, because she was only about 5 or 6 at the time.
Can you do you have an actual record of what she said?
No, I didn't.
No.
Because it was.
Is it written down anywhere?
Yeah, no, because when I met up with her, it was at the anniversary conference, and was it 2010?
This is 2010.
Yeah, and I just didn't have anything. I was totally unexpected.
Oh, you only found out that then?
Well, yeah, what she said. There was rumour that he was involved, and we guessed it because when Brenda and I first went to his home, the little girl was behind him when he opened the door, and you could see she wanted to talk to us, to me and Brenda, and he wasn't letting her, and he was wanting us to go away.
Yeah, probably
And
protecting her.
yeah, you had some fear in his face. You know, just it was so scared of saying anything. Just blatantly told me and Brenda to go away. Jenny Randalls tried to speak to him, and she was blanked off as well. But eventually, I can remember, well, I used to go down there, because just further on from there is the two cottages which had been mentioned. I used to go down there quite a bit in the summertime, because I met up with this couple, Cheryl and Jessie, Luna, and they were renting one side of the cottages, which was right bang smack practically on the field.
Yeah.
And he showed us how to walk round to the site, because he'd been told about it. Because he
Which
knew.
site is this? When
It's
you say a site, can you say where it is?
Yeah. Decors, isn't it? Right, you got landing there, but it's seen from there. But the actual landing site is here. It's down here, because there's the east gate, and the guys went down there, and obviously went along here, and then down, was following down, and it was all going on round here. And this is the field where it went out from the forest into the field, where Larry Warren, he jumped over a fence because he broke it, and so did Davy, another witness. They broke it with jumping over it, because wanting to get near it. And just round here is the civilian witnesses I was on about, living just about there, and then the cottages there. But what I was actually saying is, when I was there with my daughter, we used to walk past there, and a couple of times my daughter would go on the site on her own, because it wasn't far, because you could walk round here, literally round, which wasn't so far. And the little girl turned round to my daughter and says, "Oh, I can't talk to your mum, my granddad won't let me." My daughter said, "Why?"
Yeah.
"I can't. I want to, but I can't." And this is where she was still. I think she was about 8 or 9 probably then.
Okay.
Civilian wise, yeah.
Yeah. The daughter.
Oh no, not my daughter. She did talk to the witness, the little girl that was involved. Who was saying to her that she can't, that her granddad wouldn't allow her to talk to me. And who I did eventually when she was grown up. She was about 30 something then.
Yes, that's December.
Yeah.
That's December 2010.
Yeah, she was in her 30s then.
What did she
it was
report?
the 30th anniversary, so she would have been probably about 30, something,
35.
yeah, around that age. I never really
what
asked.
Did she report?
Pardon?
What did she actually report?
Well, that she'd seen something going on there, and saying that her granddad wouldn't believe her at first. And she was adamant. He went back, and then he saw it himself, and that's when he went to contact the forestry, who couldn't do anything at the time. Told him to contact the base, which he did. So hence, but I think the base's feeling at the time was, it was a known fact that some of the guys would go out there and drink and have smoke and whatnot out there.
You're talking about the airmen?
Yeah, some of the airmen and that. I'd heard this several times.
Of course, that would be unofficial. They wouldn't be.
Oh yeah, they weren't supposed to do it.
Yeah.
So naturally, they were. I think the base was thinking that was what's going on, and possibly the one.
Sorry,
that was
what
here.
did they see? What was being seen at that time on the Capel Green?
Jim Peniston and John Burrows were the first two to go out there, and so when they got to the east gate,
But what did
they
the
were
English
seeing
witness
lights.
see?
The English witness that we got,
Initially.
yeah, was there was an object out in the field, and the little girl was saying it all looked like angels, fairies, little people.
How many?
She didn't say, just said, it sounded more than one to me. And basically, she wasn't saying a lot more than that, but she did say that her granddad had seen these little people as well. So I wish I could tell you their names, but
Okay, well it's what they saw which we're concentrating on.
Yeah, but they were like the first civilian witnesses, and because hence there was more civilian witnesses going on round about the area. There's one lass who was just a bit further away, going towards you can't really tell on this, but it had been over this way towards the coast, because the coast would be here, over here. And that lass, she said the object flew right low over her place, and she got a little dog, and it literally died of fright. It was so scared, it died of fright, and I think the vet said it died of a heart attack.
Any indications of size or what was seen?
No, just it was big, you know, it was quite big. And Brenda's got most of the story with the civilian witness. I dealt more with military side.
Okay. Well, tell us what you can.
These here are the official, the official sighting forms for, which they're given to fill out. And although from the military witnesses, I've not heard one of them say that they actually filled one out.
Could you explain what's on the form, because people won't be able to read it?
I was given these from Mildenhall, so I got to meet someone on there, and he gave me the forms. He said, well, these are the forms that we have to fill out if there's a sighting.
A UFO sighting?
A UFO sighting, yeah.
So these are official US Air Force
they are.
UFO report
just
forms.
The two I've got there. That's not Rendlesham, by the way, but it gives you a general idea what is done.
So this, what particular one is this? Well, this RAF orders.
I think this is our Major Director of Public Affairs on there.
So that's an example.
Because that is an official report.
So this is an example of.
The UFO report forms I'd have to fill in. It's exactly like that. It's slightly different than the other one, but that is an example, or that's an exact one that's been filled out by somebody that's seen something.
Interesting to see a form which, if you probably order this today, it would be what they call redacted.
Whatever that means.
Full of black lines.
Oh yes, possibly. Yeah, I've got an example of that back here.
It's a joint message form, classified. So you must have had a great rapport.
Well, it wasn't easy to get these things, but I did. It's just knowing where to go.
Yeah.
Where to get your hands on them, because over the time people got to know me, and
that's 11th of April '85. And this is part of your research, dealing with the military witnesses.
This is the military side of the situation. When Brenda was more of the civilians.
Yeah.
I was on military bit of it.
That's an unclassified EFTO, so we're not breaking any rules here.
No.
And if we are breaking any, and that's US Air Force Ramstein.
Yeah.
Was the case basically wrapped up, and just on the subject of it being of the German base, it seems the whole thing was basically wrapped up and taken over there.
Yeah, that's much what we had reports saying a helicopter had come to take stuff, films, all film documentation of it and everything was taken to Germany, and I'd been told that would be the norm thing to do.
Right.
Why, I don't know, not the States, but Germany.
Well, that's probably the first.
Yeah.
It's interesting that Germany is the first.
It seems to
it's
be
the first point of call in terms of the United States Air Force, not England.
Yeah, not England. Yeah.
The main base being Germany, but then that was maybe front line with Russia.
Yeah, which surprises me, because the whole incident, apart from happening on civilian land, which I will state because it happened on forestry land, not military, whether it be British or whatever. It was on civilian land. And yet the Americans got hold of everything and took it all.
And the British just let it happen.
And MOD, they just seem to have got the paperwork from all we know of, and nothing else. You know, why? Because the Americans were renting that base of the Ministry of Defence. Now, the Ministry of Defence should have full rights on that stuff.
But they just gave it away.
But, you know, why was it sent to Germany?
And that happened pretty quickly.
Oh, practically straight away, straight afterwards, yeah.
You know, when you say straight afterwards, you're talking about 2 or 3 days
one
of
of
what?
the defining things on this whole thing, people saying like it happened on 3 nights. Well, indirectly, that's right. But it was going through the midnight hour. It's where Brenda and I got confused. And then we realised, hang on, you're talking about 10, 11 o'clock on the evening. Then it went over the midnight hour, which makes that another day, which is 2 days. And then it came back and did it again. So in actual fact, you're practically talking about 4 days because you're going over the midnight hour.
And by using the wrong date for the given incident, you get people confused.
26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, which is about right. That's two nights, not 4. It's 2 nights because it's going over the midnight hour.
Well, that's an interesting one. It's got an awful lot of information there.
The official use only.
And that's about it. Lieutenant.
You see, some of these I got from Col Citizens Against UFO Secrecy.
Right.
Larry Fawcett, who is my main source in the States.
Now this is interesting. Ian Ridpath, 1983, Dot Street. Now what did Ian Ridpath, I mean he's essentially Mr. Lighthouse Man.
Yeah, somebody had to put a spanner in the works and be different. That's why he said the lighthouse. He didn't believe it was a lighthouse. So you're talking about
Ian Ridpath. Now he told you that he just wanted to...
Yeah, he said, well, he wanted to put like a negative attitude with it and saying it's a lighthouse. And you know, it was pretty obvious. He knew it wasn't the lighthouse, but he came along with this story of the lighthouse, which obviously has upset everybody. But he made it up just to be awkward, I guess. But he told me this, you know.
Now, who is Ian Ridpath? Why would you be writing to him in 1983?
Well, Ian is the one with the lighthouse theory, brought that on board.
He did that in 83?
Yeah, he was astronomer and that. And he did a bit of film work with local film people, I think it's Anglia Television, where they were out in the forest and they were filming. And you see them at first where they've got carrying this big torch. Well, it's a known fact that a lighthouse all around the country have got different timings, so that the ships that go past, they can check each flash and know exactly where they are. So obviously the one at where near the incident, the what's the name lighthouse, is, I think it's either 4 or 5 flashes each per second as it went round. It go round, so when the light got to sea, that'd be 5 seconds. It go round again another 5 seconds before it came round, so you could time it and know where they were. But when
you have to be good to count with obviously just count so somebody can count them.
Yeah, well, these guys, you know, the fishermen and the people with ships and that are experienced, captains are experienced and all this. It's one of the things they'd have to learn because of safety. You know, it's telling you, hey, you're near land.
Yeah,
I'm a lighthouse. These flashes you're seeing, like say 5 seconds or whatever, is telling you where you're at. In that case, it was Orford Ness Lighthouse. But each one is different.
But from the forest's point of view, and again, bearing in mind the forest has changed so many times, obviously.
With the density of that forest, you no way would you see that lighthouse. Right in the middle of it, of the forest, it is thick, and I mean thick.
Yeah.
You may see a slight bleep of a light.
But Ian Ridpath, who's the source of the lighthouse theory, is saying it's just a load of
Yeah,
plot.
he said it's a load of rubbish. Just made it up.
He just made it up.
Yeah.
Because that would affect him
someone
as
having a negative against, what was going on.
When did he say that?
I said, I just basically said, it's a bit stupid. I said, damn well nobody believes you. I said, you're in that forest. There's no way you could see a lighthouse. It's too thick.
But he said it on television.
I know. That's what I was saying, is when he did this filming, they were trying to mock the lighthouse, but they were obviously using this torch. But, that's why I'm an investigator. That's why I was an investigator on it. I counted those flashes, knowing it's about 4 or 5 seconds for the next one. And 1 minute it was 2 seconds, then it was 3, and then it was 5. It altered. I thought, that is not a lighthouse. And then, because seeing when they were filming, the torch they had in their hand, they were going like that, obviously, with the torch.
Well, they didn't know what they were doing. They were just.
Well, no, they were just trying to be clever and make out it's a lighthouse when it wasn't.
So the lighthouse theory is rubbish, and the person who initiated that theory.
Oh yeah, he knew damn well it wasn't true. He just wanted to put a spanner in the works, which he did. That's why when people come up with such stories, I was an investigator on it right from the word go. Yeah. Well, this is one that he sent me because I questioned him about it. I'd phoned him up, as you can see. Roughly what does it say? Pardon?
Roughly what does it say?
Well, I'd have to read it because it's been a while now. Right, it's dated 1983, October the 26th. Dear Doc, in response to your phone call last night, I have abstracted some of the weather data from the Woodbridge records that I have. You'll note that December the 26th was fairly consistent in weather, with cold temperatures and broken cloud continuing into the small hours of December 27th, when snow began. By daylight on December the 27th, fog had started and persisted throughout the 28th until daybreak. On the 28th, the lighthouse would have been visible at 3 a.m. on December the 26th, and at a similar time on December the 27th, but not for the rest of 2 nights. However, even in the fog, a bright UFO half a mile away in the woods would have been visible, and there been one on December the 28th and 29th at 3 a.m. Incidentally, if the police account is correct, the landing marks were found also on the 26th at around 10 a.m. So it seems that Halt's dates are all suspect, probably the result of trying to recollect the case 2 weeks after the event. In return for this information, could you tell me more about what Colonel Halt had to say when you met him? I'd be pleased to hear what you think are his most interesting remarks. I also understand that he pointed out the alleged landing site. I take it that this is the spot where you were photographed. It would be useful if you could sketch this for me. Where did he locate the UFO that caused the second sighting? Regards, Ian. I have just this moment had a letter from Ian Masrigold accompanying what is gratefully the last issue of Probe Report. He tells me that he's opting out of ufology. Oh, basically just coming out of it, which is a shame.
That's a PS.
So, that's Ian Masrigold.
The famous, that's the Probe Report at the time.
Yeah.
So that seems a fairly respectful inquiry and exchange of information with you, and so he's saying that the lighthouse may have been visible for a short period of time.
He's not disputing the case, and he's not disputing the lighthouse. He's just saying the weather conditions, which with the work he does would be right. You probably know. obviously because I wasn't there at the time, I wouldn't know what the weather was like. I can only go by what the witnesses say, and they said it was clear. And there was no mention of snow or anything, so that I'm not too sure
well,
about.
the local actual weather at the actual physical, what the regional weather for that suffered.
But what he's actually saying in there, yes, something happens, not actually denying it, and then he's going about the lighthouse. He's sort of half and half.
Well, he seems to be giving, this is where the lighthouse could be seen, but on the other dates it couldn't have been.
Yeah.
Based on the weather.
Based on the weather.
But if the local weather is wrong.
But he's actually saying that the UFO would have been visible.
So what, this is part of your investigation. So what, it says there about the landing sites. Could you explain what those extra landing sites were and where you were photographed?
Well, when I was first photographed on there, was I did a television programme, which wasn't the exact true site. It was just a film company for convenience filmed me on there. But then when we later on did some more filming with Brenda, we were close to the site.
So this is the first and second night, the first and second days.
Yeah.
This is where the first sighting happened.
From what I'm gathering, that both the first and second is in the same place. But I've never heard of anything landing over this side.
Okay, Dot. I think we established when we were filming in the forest at the, I think, 33rd year, it's just recently, like 2014, that, yeah whatever, that I think we've come up with like 8 landing sites now.
But it sounds
so many different landing sites.
But then I'm not surprised, because apparently this thing did move. So it probably hovered up and then landed somewhere else, and then so that makes sense of that. There would be different landing places.
And whether there's talk that maybe one split into 3 near the North Gate.
Yeah, is that where Halt on his tape? It was in the sky where it split up into 3.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that.
There's the other dates where they actually scanned beams into the Bentwaters.
No, this is Bentwaters over there.
Yeah, but there were meant to be sightings there. Was that not where the radiation was the hangars?
It's Bentwaters based, yeah. Where they got the alert from John Burroughs and Jim Penniston.
Yeah.
And the guys, there was a lot of guys saying going. There's a road that goes down here.
Which links into the northern.
It goes down, and they said the civilian turned around. That's who Brenda knows. Said it was mad. It was late at night, and there was truck after truck going past there. He said it wasn't quiet.
Which night is this?
On the first night. Well, it sounds like the first and second night.
So you're talking when you say first, second. So that's both nights.
See, Brenda did the interview.
Okay.
With the civilians, as I've said. So she's the best one to know what this chap said. I can't even offhand remember his name. I know he's mentioned in her book.
Okay, that's fine. So let's just concentrate on your research and the military witnesses that you have been dealing with.
That's my side of things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's start from the first witness that you've interviewed.
Yeah, Davey was the first one. Citizens Against UFO Secrecy, which is CAUSE. The first person that they were in contact was Larry Warren, who gave his account of what happened at Rendlesham. And then Larry Fawcett, who was one of the directors of CAUSE, got hold of my phone number and address, and got hold of me, and I believe it's possibly to do with News of the World or somewhere like that, and said, I've got some documents that I'd like to send you, if that's all right. He said, I'm intrigued with the work you've done, and he said, I think you might be able to help me this side of the pond, which is America. And I said, yeah, and he said he got a full list of all the witnesses involved in Rendlesham. Obviously I went, wow.
Were they the full list, or were they the American
yes,
list? Yes,
he sent me loads of documents, which at the moment I can't find. They're somewhere. and it had all the names, Larry's name, David's name, they were all on there. And he also sent the memo of Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt. And one of the things that Larry Fawcett wanted me to do is to go and interview Halt to see what he got to say. Which when I got all this stuff and come round after shock, I phoned him back, I said, no problem, I'll get and sort it out. And I contacted Brenda, I said, we need to get down that base. I said, because I've got this memo from Larry Fawcett, which is dated the 12th, it's a famous memo, the 12th of January, where he sent. Now, an interesting story on this is when I first phoned Colonel Halt to say I've got this memo, right from the word go, Ministry of Defence said to me on the phone, they don't know of anything going on there, and this was within weeks of it happening. Right, and then I got Colonel Halt on the phone saying, oh, well, the Ministry of Defence said they'd never release that. And because I quietly turned around and said, well, I'm very sorry, but they didn't. Which made my day, because that's the first inkling that I knew that the Ministry of Defence had been involved, that they knew about it right from the word go. And I explained to him, I said, I got it through your side of the pond, which is America, from CORS, which is Freedom of Information, where they get, because of the Freedom Act in the States, which Britain didn't have at the time, that's how they were able to get the document. They got it from the American government, and because I told Colonel Halt that's where I got it, so that got his interest in him wanting to meet me. He said, well, I hope you're not playing games and all the rest of it. I said, I don't play games. I did have a tape of this conversation, but sadly Georgina, deceased, had got all those tapes. But with that, I was totally over the moon, because I had an idea that Ministry of Defence were involved. So when Halt blurted out, well, the Ministry of Defence said they wouldn't release it, I thought, hello, I like that one. So I was on the case on that one. Being an investigator, you do pick up on these things. Because we did. We ended up going to the Ministry of Defence in the end. And we saw the lass down there. And I was with Brenda Jenny and some guy from Liverpool, radio reporter.
You were, that's Jenny Randall, yeah.
Yeah. And we went straight into the Ministry of Defence, where we was ushered, when we showed them the whole memo, we was ushered straight into this little room, and people were buzzing round like flies. And I thought, oh, this is good. I like this. And it's nice being in the Ministry of Defence as well. So she came through saying they really didn't know. They just got this document said, because it was Don Morland told Halt.
Who's Don Morland?
Don Morland was like the base landlord on Bentwaters and Woodbridge.
Right.
Because it was rented out to the Americans, the base. It was British base.
Was she RAF or MOD?
Don Morland is a bloke.
Oh, sorry.
And he was one of the first people we saw. Because when Brenda and I first went on the base, went to see the base locator, and he was about to talk to us, and Don Morland's secretary saw us. Oh, no, don't talk to him, don't talk. She got all excited. And she said, oh, he's on lunch at the moment, please come back. She was adamant of us coming back. So Brenda and I took off for an hour, and I looked at Brenda and she said, boy, we're on to something here. Look at the excitement that's going on. So because we couldn't wait to get back, Don Morland was talking to us, and he thought we was from the Ministry of Defence, which we wasn't. Nice one.
So you obviously showed.
But I mean, no, we had to tell the truth.
Yeah. How long?
I'd like to have said yes, we are. We probably would have got more information, but no, you got to tell the truth. And the minute we said no, we're just UFO investigators, totally clammed up. Totally clammed up. But that was the first time. But when we got the Halt memo, we saw Don Morland, and this was a while later, a year or so later. maybe a couple. And
86 or something.
yeah, it'd been something. It's when I got the Larry Fawcett, when I went to see that, and Don said to me and Brenda, I showed him, and he explained what had happened. Is Colonel Halt had been to see him just after the incident, saying what had happened, and literally saying that that Don Morland had told Holt, just write it down and send it to the Ministry of Defence. Simple as that, which Colonel Halt did. But the interesting factor of it is Don Morland, in his wisdom, got on the phone to his secretary in the next room. He said, "Oh, can you bring the UFO files through?" I nearly fell over, and I looked at Brenda and she looked at me, and it was a pile like that. And because I'm nosy, as he's got it on the desk, I'm trying to look, and Don saw me looking and he quickly closed it up. But both me and Brenda were interested in the idea when he said, "Can you bring the UFO files?" And because after he said it, he said, "Oh, well, I don't mean that literally." I thought, carry on, you've already said it. But I loved it. And you just got to pick up things. It's like going back to the MOD when we was in there. Oh, we don't know anything much about this. And when we was talking about Memo, she was calling Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt, what's it? Chuck.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Chuck this and Chuck that. She'd not heard from him. So why the hell was she calling him Chuck Halt? Why? Why not Lieutenant or Deputy Base Commander or something? No, she didn't. She referred to him as Chuck, his nickname for Charles. I said, yeah, you know more than what you're saying, sweetheart. And when we came out of the Ministry of Defence, everyone said, well, that was a waste of time. I said, you're joking. She's saying she doesn't know Colonel Halt, and she's calling him Chuck. If it's someone you don't know, you do not call them by their nickname, especially that high ranking. So it's brilliant. I was over the moon over that. This is what you've got to do when you investigate. You've got to pick these things up. So, yeah.
So this was.
So basically,
we're talking June 20th, 1983 here.
Yeah.
And that's when you met them. That's when that meeting happened.
Yeah. Yeah, because Sky Crash hadn't actually come out when I first talked to Larry Fawcett. I think it's in. Oh, it was in the process of negotiating the deal to do the book at that particular time. He got Peter Bank, Colonel US Air Force Commander, and he basically answering citizens' request on the case. It's all to do with Rendlesham. Yeah, well done, cause for the work they did on it, because if it weren't for them, we wouldn't have got anywhere with it. We wouldn't have got the list of names. We wouldn't have known nothing about Halt, and it's thanks to Larry Fawcett and all the people of cause that have done that. I mean, this is Larry Fawcett and Barry Greenwood, who did Clear Intent, which is all to do with the Rendlesham case. Their side of the investigations on it, and their contact with both Brenda and myself, and all that. And they're fantastic. I'd have been well and truly stuck on the case if it wasn't for them. I'm eternally grateful.
What were they, with only the Halt?
They got the Halt memo.
Yeah, but what is that's a book? That's a big book. What else is in that?
Well, there's a lot. Without going through it all now,
yeah, but in a nutshell.
If anyone can get hold of this book, it's well worth getting hold of, because it shows what the group Cause did towards the Rendlesham case. It's very important. I know all the others are important as well, but this one is too. And if it wasn't for these gentlemen of Cause, I don't think we'd be where we are today. It's marvellous what they did, and my hat's off to them.
Good.
Good thing.
So David, of course, is a nom de plume. It's a
Yeah,
So
that's not
Larry's
his
been
proper
responsible.
name.
Okay. So what can continue with the events as they happened then?
I forgot where I was now.
Okay, we had Larry, Warren and David.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, because both their stories coincided, so I knew that they were involved. And also talking to Larry on the phone, it was like he was reliving it, and he was scared. He said, because this was in the early days, and he said Uncle Sam would get me if he knew I was talking about it.
What did he say?
So but he just told me that much, and what we got in the book is what he said. And David just not David.
Sky Crash.
Sky Crash, yeah.
Okay, so what Larry says in the book Sky Crash is what actually he said.
Yeah, absolutely, from my phone calls. Yeah. Davey, I got to meet more often later on, in 1983, 4, 5, 6. And he, about once a week, he'd come up to my place, betting all what I got, and he'd say, that's not right, and this, but he wouldn't tell me what, because like that, well, Larry had come out the Air Force then, but David was still in it, and he could not talk about it like the rest of them. Because they were still in the Air Force, it was all taboo. I mean, plus they'd been threatened to keep quiet. Because it's a high-profile case.
So how is it that Larry got labelled as somebody who wasn't there, and because was that to push people off the scent or what?
Well, probably just to knock him. Put people just say, no, this is not right, this is not. And I'm sorry, but it is. Everything Larry Warren says is truthful. Because he's never altered any story. I'm sorry, but a lie, you can never remember a lie. You will alter it. Larry hasn't. Never done that. From start to finish. Well, he's not even finished. And it does get to him at times, and my heart goes out to him for that. He's done a great job coming forward. And I'm pleased that Jim Penniston and John Burroughs done the same. I wish there was a lot more to come out to back them.
How much more?
Well, the rest of them that were involved.
How many?
Oh, God. 50 plus, I should think. Because you're talking over 2 days, 2 nights, because the midnight hour is what I said before. And there's a lot of people involved. Colonel Halt, apparently on the second one, dear sweet Colonel Halt, Brenda and I got very friendly with his son, Chuck Jr. And he was a lovely lad. He was 16 at the time, and twigged on to Brenda and me. We were like a mum to him, because sadly Colonel Halt and his wife had split up, and his mum had gone back to the States, so it was like a family. And then I'd heard that Chuck Jr. was going back to the States, and I wanted to see him before he went back, because we never asked Chuck Jr. anything. He told us about what his dad had seen and what he hadn't done. So no one can say we pried information out of him, because we never did. He was open-minded about it. But say this particular night, Brenda wasn't that keen on going. I said, no, I want to say goodbye to Chuck. You know, we might not see him again. So we went to the house, and I knocked. Brenda stayed in the car and knocked on the door. Chuck came to the door, looking petrified, walked away. Unbeknown to me, he'd pressed the emergency button, which alerted Colonel Halt that there was someone there that wasn't supposed to be there. The next thing I know is me and Brenda and that being arrested.
Jesus.
Yeah. Colonel Halt, which is typical of him, said, I'm going to have you arrested. I'm going to say you hit me. I thought, hang on, I'm a 4-foot midget. You're not. And I think I just turned around and said, that's a bit stupid. And then when I got outside, on the pathway down to the road, there was security police all the way down. Because I think they thought we was going to run away. I wasn't going anywhere. Because I wanted to go to that security office where I was going to be arrested, put in prison, whatever. I wanted to go there because when I was in the States, I was told that Colonel Halt is not who he is. As you get to the security office, you will not see one picture of him. So obviously I was glad to find out this. And note, when I did get there, the guy was right. There wasn't one picture of Colonel Halt to be seen. But the British police, we was interviewed by the British police.
What do you mean Colonel Halt isn't what he says he is?
Well, I was told in the States at a conference I went there, he said, you check it out. He said, Colonel Halt's not who he is. He's either OSI or something like that. He was put there to deal with this. And, you know, quite honestly, I believe it. It wouldn't surprise me.
He's always in the public domain and he's...
Yeah. And he's the one that goes on. He goes on about Larry Warren wasn't there. Well, I'm sorry, but Larry Warren was there on the first night. Colonel Halt wasn't. Colonel Halt was in Ipswich with a female friend. So he wasn't even there. So he can't say anything about Larry Warren, Davy, or any of the others on the first night. He wasn't there. He suggested he was there on the second night. I'm not going to dispute that. Because some of the other guys said, yes, he was. He was there the second night. He probably was. So, because as Gordon Williams said, Colonel Halt, for something going on, he always wants to be in the middle of it. Hence, Rendlesham, he was.
Now, who's that gentleman, William?
Don Morland is the one that sent me the Halt tape in the first place.
And in what command structure status is it?
I think he was squadron leader, something like that. It was
quite.
He was not squadron leader. It's hang on, lieutenant colonel. He was full colonel because Colonel Halt was lieutenant colonel, which is one below a colonel. But whenever the colonel was on holiday or away, that's when Colonel Halt would step in and take command.
But who told you that, under what authority do you say that Colonel Halt, under what authority can you say that he isn't what he says he is? I mean, that could just be a rumour. How do you know?
Well, I don't know. Just what the guy told me in the States.
Who was this guy in the States?
I honestly can't remember his name now. It goes way back. But I just took on board what he said, and I thought my chances of getting on into the security office is going to be zero. But when Colonel Halt said, I said, where are you going? He said, you're going to the security office. You know, little red lights were going off in my head. Oh, goody good. You know, now let's find out.
What were you doing in the States to do with? Was it a conference or something?
When this guy told me, yeah. Because one of the things that happened at that conference, there was a chap there.
What conference was it?
It was in Nebraska with, there was quite a few top people that was there.
A mutual... But who organised the conference? What was it called?
I honestly can't remember that now, because it's way back. It was just a UFO. It was a group out in the States that had set it up, because it was at the university in Nebraska where it was held. I know that was because Larry Fawcett was there. I think it's through him, and Dr. Alan Hynek. He was there. And great chap. Sadly, another one we've lost. And he took an interest in Rendlesham. He said, Doc, keep at it. He said, you will find out more. And he absolutely told the truth, because I did. You know, grateful to a lot of them, especially Larry Fawcett, with all the information that he gave me. Wouldn't have got anywhere if it wasn't for him. Wouldn't have known about Halt.
So Halt is not who he says he is?
Well, I don't know if he is or not. I'm just going by what I was told. And when I got to the security office, there was not a picture of Halt. And it's got all other commanding officers, there's pictures of them, but there wasn't one of Holt.
Well, it's rather strange that the...
Well, I don't know if it is or not, but I just found it fascinating what this guy had said in the States had said, and he was telling the truth. There wasn't a picture of him.
Okay.
And he was saying he's probably OSI, which is Office Special Investigation or something like that, put there because of Rendlesham. And I don't know that.
But was he therefore a deputy base commander before that, or was he just sort of bumped in there and at Christie?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I can't see any background of Holt before the incident. It sounds though he'd not long been on the base before this happened.
The family?
Yeah, my family. I had two children. They were very young at the time. They weren't getting attention from Mum because Mum was taken over by Rendlesham. My husband at the time was getting fed up with it because I was hardly ever home, and I was literally living by babysitters. And I realised, and I thought the only way I can get out of this is I've got to move away. And that's when I came down south. I just knocked it on the head. And because my children obviously are now grown up, one's 41 and the other's 37, and got their families, that I've sort of taken it back on board. And with seeing Larry a lot more now, because he's now in the UK, and meeting Jim, well, I've met Jim obviously, but John Burrows a few weeks ago, and I think one of the best things that has happened to me throughout this case is seeing John Burrows and Larry Warren on that site, reliving it. You could really see the emotions in their faces. I won't ever forget that. It was magical. That's all I can say, just to see, actually reliving what they went through. And anyone says to me they're a liar, I'll call them a hypocrite, because they're not lying.
Okay, taken off the base.
Yeah, well, I was surprised. The likes of Larry, John, everyone, with that, within 3 months of after it happened, they were all sent to Germany or wherever, off the base, off Bentwaters and Woodbridge. But the one member that's involved in this, apparently involved in it, was Col Halt. He was still there. You know, why wasn't he carted off somewhere? Because it was the likes of me and Brenda running around trying to get information. Surely it had been in their interest to have got rid of Col Halt as well. Well, why? I've got a question mark on that. I want to know why he wasn't sent to another base and was still there.
Did his picture end up on the guardroom wall eventually?
Pardon?
Did his picture eventually appear?
Well, no, because when after we got arrested, we was told by Col Halt told the British police that we weren't allowed near there, near the base or anywhere near that area. And not a good thing to say to me, because when people tell me not to do something, sorry, I do the reverse. Nobody tells me not to do something, I will do it. And I'll do it even more when I'm told not to.
I think we share that a little bit.
Pardon?
Yeah. Were there any, what about any further airmen did you interview or did you get contact with?
No, I think the main person, well, since being down here, is Larry Warren. I lost contact with Larry Fawcett and everybody because I basically gave the whole thing up. And then I went to a conference and met up with Larry. That was in Sheffield, and that was the first time we'd met in years.
Was that night? When was that?
Sheffield group that did a conference in Sheffield, and Larry was one of the speakers up there.
Yeah, I think I interviewed him then. Was that?
You might have done. Brenda was up there as well.
Right.
Brenda and Chris.
Larry during the alien autopsy farce.
Yeah, there's quite a few of them. Stanton Friedman was there, and There was a chap, he got a case with all the little bits that had been implanted in people.
Yeah.
He was there and he was showing us all that.
What about any further investigations that you've done before we leave this?
Well, not a lot really. You know, that apart from, you know, everyone's asking me to write a book.
Yes. Now, before we get on to your book, you're involved with the Sky Crash book with
Brenda.
Brenda, and then Jenny Randalls came in. And could you explain?
Well, Jenny Randalls at first was to be our editor.
Why?
Well, because we'd never written a book before, so and she had, and it was common sense to have her on board as editor.
And you were in Bufora.
I was in Bufora.
And she was in Bufora.
She was director of investigations.
So that was a sensible.
Well, yeah, she was like my boss.
Yeah. Did you know then that what you know now about what her real role was in terms of keeping the lid on this?
Not really. I mean, I think I challenged the idea of being an investigator. She was director of investigations. I wanted help from the word go. And sorry, Dot, I'm busy writing a book. That's not the help I wanted, so I had to look elsewhere. Which I did. Peter Johnson in Sheringham, he was my mentor, my teacher in being a UFO investigator, and he helped me out. And he said, just find another avenue. Or he said, Dot, you can do it on your own, which I did in the end. I'd learnt enough by then. And I thought, I just got to do it. I mean, it's a shock that I hit on Britain's biggest case. It scared the hell out of me.
Why? What is in this case that scares the hell out of you?
Because of the element, so many elements in it. And the alien side of things. And, you know, most of the cases I'd investigated and interviewed weren't involving aliens, just lights in the sky. Where this to do with the UFO that came down the forest, military personnel involved, aliens involved, and I was sure, wow, I couldn't believe it.
But Dot, what about these aliens? What about these other landing sites?
Well, I think yourself and other people have been saying, well, there's all these different landing sites, all these different places where the guys have seen stuff.
Well, I'm referring to the stuff at the North Gate, which...
you mean Eastgate?
No, on the north side. Where they
yeah, well, I don't really know much about that, apart from a light being seen. But something landing there is certainly news to me.
Okay.
I've never heard any of that during my side of the investigation. As far as I was concerned, the only landing site was near that field, in the forest and near that field, on the field. And that's the only area that I've known about.
And what about the Bentwaters, the UFO fire, or something firing into the nuclear arms?
That's all new to me. That's just come forward. That's where a lot of this information is just coming out now. It's like the binary code with Jim Penniston.
But when did
I'd already heard of binary code, so I knew exactly what they were, a series of noughts and ones, which tell a story. But I feel also, if they were to look deeper, they might even see a picture, not just words, but a picture there.
Right. So when did you finish really with the case? You were saying off camera you had to leave because of the...
Oh yeah, that was...
So when did all that happen?
When I come down here, got to be about 1986, right. 86, 87, when I moved down here.
That's when you just...
I just cut right off.
Right.
Because my family, and I mean, I ended up being divorced because my ex-husband, well, now, although I've lost him, is, he just got fed up with it and we just drifted apart. And the children suffering, they weren't seeing much of Mum. Because I was scooting down Rendlesham every 5 minutes.
And that's a heck of a distance.
Yeah, well, it took me about an hour on a moped. You know, 'cause it's a fair way. It's about 30 odd miles.
A lot of dedication to do that in a moped.
Well, that poor bike went through it. It certainly did. And I was surprised it lasted as long as it did, because it certainly did some mileage.
So you were doing this extra work after the Sky Crash book?
I didn't do any of it when I left. When I left up there to come here.
Yeah. So when was that book published? When?
Sky Crash, I believe it was about 83, 84 when that came out.
Still hung on for a year or two after that was published.
Yeah, just me being nosy.
Yeah.
And because Larry had gone public then, and it's like giving him some form of support. He was in the States and was going round, because now he's living in the UK, and he's done a hell of a lot. I think he's my hero.
So when did you decide to come back into the case? When did you decide to come back?
I think Sheffield. When I went to the conference in Sheffield.
That was 96, I think.
Something like that. Yeah, that sort of.
Well, there was a couple of Sheffield conferences. Larry Warren was there when I.
That sort of got me going a bit, and I thought, oh God, here we go. And I was a bit concerned getting back into it, but I just found myself back into it, because it's like a bug. It's in your blood. It will not go away. Like Larry and Jim and John, they've all said it. You know, they just cannot let go as much as they want to. It's in their blood. And the Rendlesham case to me is exactly the same, although not, because they were witnesses. I wasn't. I just investigated it. But it just won't leave me alone. I feel as though there's a lot more to know, and I want to know.
Of course, you then moved the best part of, must be 150 miles away from it.
Something like that, yeah, quite a way.
Heck of a distance. We're way in the
my ex-husband moved down there, and the children wanted to be near their dad.
We're basically Portsmouth here, really.
No, we're not. We're Southampton, Bournemouth.
You've now decided it's 2014.
Yeah.
And I'm still shooting Bases 3. This is a part of Bases 3. And you're talking about your book. You're going to finally publish your own book now.
Yeah. Because publishers, like what I said with that UK ISB thing, you know, they altered it. I don't know. I'm not having that again. So I've got a dear sweet friend, Ronnie Dugdale. He's going to help me compile it all. And my other dear sweet friend, John Hanson, who I'm hoping will publish it and get it out there, and they will see my side of what I did with Rendlesham. Yeah, my side in the investigation, where because Brenda was working, I still carried on, and because Brenda was more civilian side of things, I was military side of things, and because you know, still talking to Larry Warren, and Davey, I was still in contact to some extent, and just knowing so much more. But putting what the witnesses have said, putting that into context, that they're telling the truth, they're not lying. And I want to underline that. They're not lying. Believe you me and believe them. They are not lying. Because they're all saying the same thing. You know, and as I've stated before, a lie, you'll never remember. The truth, you always will. And these guys have never altered. They're telling the truth. They're not lying.
Now, there's a book published by Penniston and Burroughs, authored by Nick Pope.
Yeah. Sorry.
What do you think about that?
Well, I don't know why Nick Pope's involved in it at all, because he certainly wasn't involved in Rendlesham. Not at all. All he's done is pick up, and Nick Pope, all he's done is pick up information from the likes of Georgina and other people, and gone on tour doing conferences and everything, making money out of about the The investigators make money out of investigators that have spoken and the witnesses. And no, he was not involved in Rendlesham. He never did investigations on it. Right, he's ex-MOD. He was an office boy.
You're not happy with that situation?
No, I'm not with him at all.
But what in your opinion, and it can only be an opinion, or possibly you may know something, what are they continuing to suppress about this case, in your...
A lot more of the truth.
What is that?
Well, a lot more of what happened, why it happened. There's got to be a reason for why that thing came down off an airbase. And it's happened throughout the world where these things have come down off air bases.
It's been argued that it was simply a test device so that they could test the security of the base.
No, don't buy that.
That's what some British UFO researchers...
No, don't buy that. Not at all.
Dismiss it out of hand?
No, I don't buy that. There's not something happened out there.
I think the clue or the key to this is the little girl talking about the...
That little lass, she was the first one to see something.
And you spoke to her
grandfather.
3 years ago, or 4 years ago?
Pardon?
Did you speak to her?
Yeah, was it... Well, yeah, 4 years ago. Yeah, because it's 2010. No, she just confronted me and knew me, obviously, and I didn't recognise her at all, because she, you know, she's grown up, she's in her 30s.
Any way of getting in contact with her?
No, I promised I wouldn't.
So can you remember...
I was just surprised that she even spoke to me.
Can you remember what she said? What did that witness say to you?
Basically what she said, she was up, because it was Christmas Boxing Night, and she was playing with her toys, supposed to be asleep because it was late, but she was playing with her Christmas toys, and looked out the window and just saw a light, and she was stating she saw things that looked like fairies or, you know, little people.
So
and
she is witnessing this at Castle
yeah, she was saying it. And then her grandfather, he came up, wouldn't listen to her and wouldn't look out the window, and she got persistent. So he came back up, he looked out the window and saw it himself and was shocked. And with that he went to contact the Forestry Commission, who at the time was unable to acknowledge the call, and just said, can you contact the base? Because basically I think he was thinking probably what the base did, the guys who used to go out in the forest now and then with their beers and cigarettes, and which they're not supposed to do but did, and that's what they were thinking of. And because that's when Jim and John had gone out there. They said they were just checking the east gate. I don't buy that. They were informed something was out there.
The event must have been lasting some time.
Well, it would have done, because this was...
This is a lot of...
I'm presuming this was about 10 o'clock at night. She's just said it was late. She didn't know the time.
Well, you're talking about a 5-year-old child or 6 or 6 year old.
5 or 6, yeah. Yeah, she just, you know, she didn't mention the time or anything. From what I'm getting, though, it was fairly late, because it went on through the midnight hour. And this is where you're getting all your dates. 27th, 28th, midnight hour. 28th, 29th, midnight hour. Because that's what confused me and Brenda. Where are we getting all these dates from? And because it was a midnight hour. Yeah. As simple as that.
Now, it's been said, you just mentioned other UFO reports in the area. It's been said that that area has had a lot of activity.
Yeah, in the 70s.
For a very, very long time.
Yeah.
Right back even, you know, centuries.
Oh, well, so mine was what, 1977?
Yeah. And since...
And right through that time, it was phenomenal what was going on. And there's still stuff going on within that area. Well, UFO sightings.
What sort of things? People, landings, or what?
Well, no, I think mainly it's the lights in the sky, you know, and that. A lot of people say, oh, it's aircraft. Sorry. you do know there is a difference with aircraft and some of these things that are shooting across the sky like a whatnot and veering, changing course. An aircraft can't do that.
Well, finally, Dot, is there any one thing you want to say about this whole thing, this whole case?
Yeah, governments tell the truth. Governments come, American, British governments, all governments come out and tell the truth. I know there's not an awful lot to say to the public, i.e., but to investigators like myself and the witnesses. That's important. Because it's a horrible thing to live through. You know, when you've seen something, it will not go away. And governments need to recognise that and help. Not contradict witnesses, help them. And we want the truth. And we want the truth on Rendlesham. Because there's more of it, I'm sure.
Well, thank you very much, Dot.
Thank you.
Basis 3, which may get you published maybe the same time your book does.
That'd be very nice. Thank you very much.